it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Time for Toker Talk Radio, where we let down what's left of my hair, spark up a fatty, and talk about the issues. Our phone line is open. If you want to get involved, it's 650-LEGAL-MJ. That's 650-534-2565. 650-LEGAL-MJ if you got comments, questions, suggestions, criticisms, topics, anything you want to get off your chest, we are here for you. And not just during this live 4 o'clock hour Pacific time, but also 24 hours a day. We've got a message machine out there, and if you'd like to leave a message for the world, we'll play that back on a later show. All right, let me continue. I got to finish up ranting on Dragonfly de la Luz, who has posted these 8 reasons why people should vote to remain criminals in California and defeat Prop 64. Fortunately, she's pissing in the wind because, Prop 64 is in the 55 to 60% polling range, but still, it's fun. So she had just talked about how there would be new crimes created. Young people passing a joint would face 6 months, $500, except that's not true. The initiative would specify $100 ticket, just like it is now. She says adults 21 and over who pass a joint to another college-age adult under 21 face the same steep penalty. No, they don't. And in both cases, if they have prior convictions, they could be sentenced to state prison time for 2, 3, or 4 years, which is the law now. So, again, this new crimes myth they keep trying to foist on us is just not true. The only thing that gets more penalized under Prop 64 is if you toke in public in a place that has no tobacco smoking zones in it. Like you toke in a non-smoking zone, a specific non-smoking zone. That fine goes from $100 to $250. That's it. That's the only thing that gets worse under Prop 64. That's it. Small price to pay, if you ask me. I had another one of them on my High Times piece, J. Craig Canada, who tried to convince me that the Prop 64 created a new crime because it creates a public toking crime. Section, I think it was 26100 or something that said nothing shall be construed to permit the public smoking of marijuana. It's a $100 infraction. And that was some sort of new crime. It's not. It's not. If I go out on the street in California and smoke a joint and a cop sees me, he will give me a $100 ticket. After Prop 64 passes, if I go out on the street and I smoke a joint and a cop sees me, he will give me a $100 ticket. Now, there is a slight difference. The $100 ticket that I get under Prop 64 is a ticket for public cannabis consumption. The ticket for $100 I get under the current law is the $100 ticket for marijuana possession. He's trying to say, oh, there's never been a public toking penalty under California law, and this creates a brand new penalty. As a technicality, you're right, Craig. But from a practical standpoint, it's just the same punishment you would have got in the first place. They just changed the name of it. That's like trying to say, oh, there's a $100 ticket for marijuana possession, and they got rid of that, and they instituted a $100 ticket for cannabis possession. See? It's a new law. We never had a law against cannabis possession. We only had a law against marijuana possession, right? It's the same idea. What difference does it make what they call the infraction when it's the same penalty? $100 ticket. That's just these people. All right, let me get to the next one. It's myth number 6 says that Prop 64 is irrevocable by the legislature. And they say the fact is Prop 64 lets the legislature alter it at will. And she points out that in California, typically the ballot initiatives can't be amended except by another initiative. Okay? But in Prop 64, it has language in it that says they can make amendments. And so that's giving to the legislature the power to change something passed by the people. And of course, the scare here is that the people will pass this legislation, and then the legislators, being the evil cartoon twirling, mustache twirling villains they are, will gut it all, they'll destroy it all, and we'll be screwed. But here's the thing. Giving amendment power to the legislature, first of all, is limited in Prop 64. The majority, 50% majority, can only change certain things. They can only adjust the regulations for medical and recreational commercial licensing, right? The stuff that's in Section 5, Section 6 that's added, that creates the whole, how are there going to be licenses? Are there going to be commissions? Are there going to be, application processes? All the bureaucratic mumbo jumbo, that stuff can be modified with a 50% majority. A 50% majority can also modify any of the penalties, but only to reduce them. A majority can only reduce the penalties. They can say, all right, well, we're going to get rid of that 6-month, $500 misdemeanor and drop it down to a $100 ticket. Or we're going to take that $100 ticket and drop it down to $25. Or perhaps increase the amount you could grow at home to 12 plants rather than 6. Because increasing your limit is technically reducing the penalty for that much, right? Because there's currently a penalty for 7 to 12 plants, and you'd be reducing it by increasing the limit to 12, right? Those are the things that can be modified with 50% majority. A couple of the other things that can be modified have to do with the disbursement of the taxes, but then only after 10 years, and not affecting a couple of the provisions that have to stay at the same level. So after 10 years, they could modify a little bit about where the money goes. Everything else in Prop 64 that could be modified by the legislature requires a 2/3 majority. That's hard to get, even in California, a 2/3 majority. But to portray this as if it's a bad thing, as if you should pass an initiative and it should never be altered by the legislature, shows a bit of ignorance about what's going on in many states when it comes to their citizen initiatives. First of all, California. Y'all passed Prop 215, 11 short little lines with no amendment power. How'd that work out? That led to 18, 19 years of chaos. Little things that could have been fixed through amendment that couldn't be fixed. Had to languish, had to be pushed and prodded, had to go through numerous court battles, had to deal with lots of raids and problems and imprisonments that could have been avoided if there were a way to modify that initiative. Or Washington State. Washington State passed I-502. In Washington, initiatives can't be modified by the legislature for 2 years following their passage. So for the first 2 years in Washington, Initiative 502 didn't account for all sorts of problems that cropped up, particular crop problems as far as how much production and how many outlets and retail canopy and so forth. So for the first 2 years in Washington, we had a situation where the prices were $25 for a damn gram because it couldn't be modified. We couldn't add more production capability. We couldn't increase the canopy limit. We couldn't do anything like that because it couldn't be modified. All right, let me get to this 7. Myth 7. She says that it's a myth that Prop 64 protects patients' rights because it lets localities decide patients' rights. This is one of the most offensive myths or pieces of bullshit that she puts up there. This is the thrust of the No on 64 campaign from the Stoners Against Legalization is if we pass this, say goodbye to medical marijuana. That's their big fear. Okay. And right now she's saying 2 million patients enjoy the right to grow as much cannabis as they require, literally an unlimited amount, as upheld by the Supreme Court in the People v. Kelly ruling. Anyone can become a patient and no one has to lie to do it. Wait a minute. Anyone can become a patient and no one has to lie to do it? This is where these people, they look at the Prop 215 that says you can provide for anything for which marijuana provides relief. This gets attached to the all uses medical trope with the idea that nobody who's going to get a permission slip from the doctor is lying. Because everybody using cannabis is using it for medical purposes, right? Well, if all use is medical, then it's just use, isn't it? If any excuse for anybody at any time is medical, then why even designate that it's medical? That's like saying all the children in Lake Wobegon are above average. It's like saying all the kids are special. Well, then the word means nothing. Special distinguishes you from something that's ordinary, right? Medical should distinguish you from something that's not medical, right? If all use is medical, there's no point in using the word medical. But let's get back to the subject here, okay? Yes, people are lying to get their medical marijuana cards. But this thing, she says, under Prop 64, unlimited would drop to 6 plants. That's a lie. Prop 64 says specifically that the limits that are specified of 1 ounce, 8 grams of concentrate, and 6 plants per household do not apply to the Compassionate Use Act at all. This is a pernicious lie being spread by these stoners against legalization. They should be ashamed of themselves because it does not say that. She goes on to say that, and by the way, with People v. Kelly was a case that decided a law called SB 420. SB 420 was what they passed, Jerry Brown's regulations, that created the dispensaries and the collectives and the co-ops that now McCursa has taken over. The thing in SB 420 that was found unconstitutional was that it specified a presumptive limit. It wasn't really a limit, it was more like a floor, but technicalities don't matter. A presumptive limit on patients' possession. It said, we'll presume 8 ounces and 6 plants or whatever it was. I don't remember the numbers. Doesn't matter. But it set a limit. And the courts came back and said, no, you can't set a limit because Prop 215 says medically recommended amount, and this is telling doctors what that would be, and you can't. That was the only part that was thrown out. Just the limits part. Because Prop 215 says patients have a limit. They're trying to tell you that Prop 64 establishes this 6 plant limit indoors, and since it's a citizen initiative, unlike the legislature, which was rebuked and tried to set a limit and was rebuked, but unlike that, this is a citizen initiative, therefore it could set a limit on Prop 215. But it's not. It specifically says it is not doing that. She also complains the initiative would further limit patients' access by making it more difficult to get doctors' recommendations. Right now, a patient just needs oral or written recommendation to obtain and grow. Under 64, they'd need a $100 annual ID card. Wrong. The $100 ID card was created by McCursa, the Medical Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act, not Prop 64. Prop 64 does indicate that you need to have that card if you want the sales tax deduction at the dispensaries. Every other right patients have exists under Prop 215, which is not being repealed. It exists under Prop 215 and still exists with just a oral or written recommendation, and that is reiterated in Prop 64. And then we get the big one. This is the one they're really trying to hammer home. Number 8, What happened in Washington won't happen here, but Prop 64 would end the medical cannabis industry as we know it. And she tells the sad tale of Washington State. The medical cannabis dispensaries have been shut down. Patients have to go to rec outlets. They have to buy it with 46% taxes on it. During the campaign, they were told I-502 wouldn't change medical, and look, there it did. She even says I-502 contained a rare provision that allows legislators to alter it at their whim. Lie, not true, falsehood. I-502 is an initiative just like any other initiative. Under Washington's Constitution, legislators could not amend it for 2 years. After 2 years, they could, and they did. Nothing written in I-502 could have stopped the legislature from passing SB 5052. That's what shut down the dispensaries, was SB 5052 in the and the legislature, not I-502. Now, I-502 could have been written in a way that protected medical marijuana. I-502 could have had all sorts of provisions in it that says this shall not change that, this shall allow this. I-502 could have been a comprehensive initiative that regulated all cannabis and took medical use into account. But when they were trying to draft this legalization, all they heard from the medical cannabis people was, don't touch medical, don't say anything about medical, nothing in 502 better say a goddamn thing about the medical system, leave it alone, do nothing to it. And so they did. Okay, we won't talk about medical, we won't include medical, we won't do a thing about medical. You're on your own. And look what happened. This scare is being done, as she says, to replace, repeal, and supersede Prop 215. 215 is a voter initiative. Only the voters can change it. 64 is a voter initiative. Since it taxes non-medical and medical, it'll repeal, unquestionably, she says, repeal 215. Here's the flaw in that thinking. Washington is not the scare California should fear. Washington is the lesson that California learned. The reason SB 5052 was passed by the legislature is because once I-502 passed, it had a well-regulated, taxed, inspected, certified, carefully planned, strictly controlled system of marijuana distribution. And right next to it was the unregulated, untaxed Wild West, where anybody who wanted to walk into a doctor and tell a lie could get a card. With those two systems next to each other, how many people do you think would have gone into the recreational shops and paid, at the time, 25 plus 25 plus 25% tax? Nobody. They'd all go lie to a doctor, get their little permission slip, and go to these unregulated Wild West stores. But California learned that lesson and passed McCursa the year before they knew legalization would be on the ballot. The legislature got their act together, regulated the industry, so there wouldn't be this stark differential between the rec market and the medical market. California learned its lesson. And this idea that Prop 64 is going to repeal Prop 215 is such a wild Hail Mary pass. It's incredible. Prop 64 cannot repeal 215. It does not repeal 215. 215 covers three things. You got the right to use and possess marijuana however much a doctor says so. You got the right to plant and harvest cannabis however much a doctor says so. And you have the inferred right, based on the Kelly decision, to transport that shit back and forth. That's it. That's all that's in 215. There is nothing in there about commerce, about sales, about collectives, about co-ops. Nothing. Nothing in there. It's not repealing medical marijuana. You can still lie to your doctor, get your little permission slip, and grow and smoke to your heart's content, Dragonfly.
Every strain, every sale, every medical study. Keep it right here on the Cannabis Radio Network.
The next generation of vaporizers has arrived. Vuber vaporizers are blazing the way with unparalleled technology for oil, concentrate, or dry flower pens. Providing unsurpassed customer service and expert craftsmanship, Vuber vaporizers use cutting-edge technology, providing a power-packed, smoother vapor with a lifetime guarantee. Experience vaporizing the way it was meant to be. The Vuber way.
The Tommy Chong Show on Cannabis Radio.
You got me running. You got me hiding. Run, hide, and hide, run any way you want. Let it roll. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got me doing what you want me, babe. Girl, what you want me to do. Shut up and do a podcast as I want you to do. Oh, that sounds like a good idea.
The Tommy Chung Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Warning, hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that. This is Dan Michaels from danmichaelsaudio.com, and you're listening to Radical Russ on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a good safety meeting. I'm feeling a little safer myself, although I had to roll a fresh one, so give me just a second. That's better. Beautiful day here in legal Potland, Oregon. And that's the thing about all of these scares from the stoners against legalization is they'd be a lot scarier in 2012. Not so scary in 2016 after we've gotten 2 successive election cycles where 2 states have legalized. And now we've got data and experience from these states that show us that these fears from both the normal opponents of legalization and the stoners against legalization are unfounded, or at least misdirected. I'm not going to deny that there's been significant wholesale decimation of Washington State's medical cannabis system. Not denying that at all. But the blame is misplaced. The blame is misplaced on legalization when the blame really belongs on the legislature, on your previous governor, and the actors within the medical cannabis industry itself who stretched every loophole they possibly could to enrich themselves and to make a mockery out of what the people had passed as a medical initiative surrounded by compassion and altruism. I'm just getting sick of these medical cannabis activists, advocates, profiteers who are always against a legalization initiative because it's just not perfect enough to maintain exactly what they want out of medical. I have doubts that there'd ever be anything they would actually support. It's funny because the reasons they give to oppose the legalization, it's going to be a takeover by big marijuana, are actually more likely outcomes of the wide open initiatives they support. You know, a lot of these, like in California, they're all these CCHI people or MCLR people. CCHI is the Jack Herer Initiative. Everybody gets 12 pounds, 99 plants, $10 per ounce tax, set free all the pot prisoners, blah, 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 right? MCLR has no limits. Personal cultivation, personal possession, as long as it's not commercial. Have as much as you want. No age limit. Doesn't specify what the age is in there. Yeah, I'm sure the voters would pass that. If they did, though, if they passed MCLR or passed CCHI, one of those specifies, or both of them would require the legislature, you know, this legislature that after Prop 64 passes is going to destroy everything, these evil guys, the evil conspiracy of crony capitalism in the legislature. Yeah, those guys. If CCHI or MCLR passed, they're the ones who would institute the commercial regulations. Yeah, so Prop 64, laying it all out in, oh my God, 62 pages. That, with all these strict guidelines and purposes and intents that would have to be followed, that's what the legislature is going to abuse to destroy marijuana. But CCHR or MCLR that have no restrictions whatsoever on what the legislature can do, yeah, those would be just fine. Legislature would make perfect regs, wouldn't they? These stoners against legalization, true legalization initiatives don't specify any sort of commercial regulations and leave the field wide open for the biggest and richest players to come in and dominate the market. If these people are really worried about a monopoly, quote unquote, they wouldn't be supporting MCLR or CCHI either. So I just get sick of it. After 20 years of people lying to the doctor to get their permission slip so they can avoid being arrested for pot, who want to tell people in Texas they need to keep waiting. People in Arkansas, they need to keep waiting. People in North Dakota and South Dakota, y'all need to just wait a little bit longer until we can get the perfect true legalization initiative on the ballot and pass it that doesn't hurt anybody in medical and makes everything perfect. Because that's what you're doing, guys. You're not voting on legalization just for California. Every state that votes on legalization is voting to end worldwide drug prohibition. It's just one battle in a really big war. And it's just inexcusable to try to thwart that. Now, if there were something significantly awful about a legalization initiative, I would oppose it. If the things Dragonfly and Letitia and Craig and all these naysayers say about Prop 64 were true, I would oppose it. But they're not true. For me, I-502 is the baseline. I-502 was hard for me to support, people. Really tough for me to support. I was here. I was in the Pacific Northwest. I got the angry meme pictures made out of me and the boos and the threats throughout 2 years of that campaign. It was hard for me to support it because I have a litmus test when it comes to legalization. Does it make the situation better than it is now? That's the overall question. Look at the situation now. Does it make the situation better? And then there's a 3-point criteria that I have. And it's kind of like Asimov's rules of robotics, right? It's like the number 1 outranks number 2 and number 2 outranks number 3. Okay. Number 1, can I smoke pot? That's it. Can I smoke pot? Now, of course, to smoke it, I have to be able to possess it. Now, and so, yeah, can I smoke pot? Does this initiative stop the cops from fucking with me over my possession or even if I smell like pot? That's number 1. Number 2, can I buy pot? Can I buy some pot? Can I get some pot somewhere? Number 3, can I grow pot? And number 4, does it end discrimination? In that order. Okay? So if the initiative allows me to have pot, if it takes the power from the cops to fuck with me over pot, boom, we're done. Pass it. Number 2, does it allow me to buy pot? That would be great. I'd love to be able to buy some pot. But if it doesn't allow that, but still allows me to possess it and smoke it, I'm still for it. Like Washington, D.C.'s Grow and Give. No pot shops. I can't buy weed in Washington, D.C., but I can have it and smoke it. Number 3, can I grow it? Can I grow it? Well, in Washington, D.C., I can have it and grow it. So there's a double pass, right? In Oregon, I can have it, buy it, and grow it. That's a triple pass. Colorado, have it, buy it, grow it. That's triple pass. Washington State, I can have it, I can buy it, but I can't grow it. Doesn't make things any worse than they are now, or were then, I should say. Couldn't grow it before, couldn't grow it. No, that's not a deal breaker. And number 4, does it end discrimination? Well, this is where 502 got tough for me, because 502 added discrimination. 502 did make something worse. It made that per se DUID, that unscientific way cops could ruin someone's life with a DUID charge when they're not impaired at all. So I had a quandary. I had 2 good things. I can possess it, I can buy it. I had 1 neutral thing, can't home grow it. And I had 1 awful thing, per se DUID. But weighing it all out, does it make it overall better for the world, for myself and for others? 502 was a positive. It did more good than the bad it added. Now, my critics would say, oh, yeah, but you're not counting the bad of how it destroyed the medical marijuana industry. Because it didn't. 502 did not have a thing in it that affected the medical marijuana industry 1 iota. SB 5052 did that. It's just maddening. And part of this problem lies in the original sin of medical marijuana. And let me couch that. Let me preface that a little bit. You know, we talk about how America has an original sin of slavery. Like this country was founded, built on the backs of slaves. We've never reconciled that. We've never really gone into it and dealt with the problem, and it still festers to this day in various manifestations. America's original sin of slavery. The 3/5 compromise, right? In that same mode of thinking, medical marijuana's original sin was to present to the public the face of compassion and altruism and suffering, while in private, knowing damn well knew that it meant quasi-legalization and the ability for people to smoke pot. And as the public has increasingly figured that out, they've had less and less esteem for that action. So it's kind of, boy who cried wolf kind of, situation here when you're crying about how terrible these things have happened to medical, when it was your own two-facedness that set you up for this. If in Washington state, the only people who were getting medical marijuana were actually the cancer patients and AIDS patients and quadriplegics and spastics that were put up in the ads and brought forth into the legislatures and shown at the rallies speaking out for their desperate need for cannabis, if those were the only people who were served by these medical marijuana laws, no legislature would touch them. It would be political suicide. And my proof of that concept? CBD only laws. We managed to get Utah and Alabama and Mississippi, super anti-pot states that won't even touch medical marijuana because, my God, some kid might smoke a joint. Like they don't now. But those states, from 2014 to 2015, we got 16 of those states. There was a time where there was like 1 or 2 a week that were passing these laws because it was political suicide, even for a conservative Republican in Mormon-heavy Utah, to be seen as opposing a non-psychoactive cannabis medicine that stops epileptic kids from having seizures. These legislators always get painted as some sort of, like I say, cartoon mustache twirling villains tying up damsels on the railroad tracks when they're just people, especially when you're talking about state legislators. They're people. People that can be swayed by emotional arguments. People who have compassion for sick kids.
We have your smoking section right here. This is the Cannabis Radio Network.
While the feds and state are doing their dance, you still need to transact business and manage your cash. Go professional and let your customers pay with PayQuick. They pay you and they earn rewards points. PayQuick connects to your bank account for free and secures all of your transactions. And with PayQuick, you can pay your producers and processors for free. Plus, it pays to have it because it makes depositing your cash safe and so easy. No cops, no crooks, just compliance and comfort, knowing you have your cannabis business in check with PayQuick. PayQuick, the safe and easy way to pay. PayQuick.com.
Have you seen their ad? It's been called downright false. The truth? Prop 205 gives Arizona schools 80% of marijuana tax revenues, $55 million for our schools every year. It will be the law. If we don't act, the real winners will be criminals and cartels who already sell marijuana illegally. You decide who wins, criminals and cartels or Arizona schools. Let's pick our schools. Vote yes on 205.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people.
Okay. Maybe you're high, too.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Most of us pirates, we go on vacation to North Dakota, you know, because they've got a town called Argusville. What are you smoking there, boy?
This is Dan Michaels from DanMichaelsAudio.com, and you're listening to Radical Russ on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. 37 after the hour, and looking forward to marijuana election night coming up in 3 weeks from tonight. My God, I'll be in LA bringing you live coverage of all the votes that are happening across the country in the fight to end marijuana prohibition. Also, lots of travel gigs coming up here as we wind up the year. It's going to be kind of interesting for me. In my first 6 months, I was really busy. Like, it was a travel gig every weekend, man. I literally didn't live in Portland for like 6 months, maybe a weekend here or there, because I was traveling so much. And then summertime came, kind of eased up a bit. I've been doing a couple of gigs, but now as we kick off the rest of this year, I'm getting pretty busy, folks. This next weekend, 22nd, 23rd, is I think the last free weekend I have that doesn't have either a gig or a holiday. So Halloween weekend, the 29th and 30th, actually just the 29th, I should say, I will be in Dallas, Texas at the Dallas Marijuana March. Looking forward to that. The following weekend, Saturday, November 5th and 6th, the weekend before the election, I'm driving to Santa Cruz, California on Sunday to be a guest on the live pre-election edition of Stony Sunday with Coral Reefer. I had to make my way down to L.A. anyway, right? Could drive, could fly, whatever. And she said, "What are you doing before the election?" I said, I'm just, nothing. You want to be on Stony Sunday? I'm like, well, shit. I got to drive south on 5 anyway. Yeah, why not? So I'll give you all the links and everything. You can watch that Stony Sunday on, the 6th, 2 days before the election. Hang out with Coral Reefer. Of course, election night's the following Tuesday. Then we've got, Veterans Day holiday, the 12th and 13th. It actually looks like I do have a free weekend. What do you know? Then the following week, middle of November, starting on the 15th, the Marijuana Business Conference at the Rio in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm really excited to go to this. It's 4 days in Las Vegas, one of the biggest shows there is. And keynote speech, Penn Jillette. of Penn and Teller. I love Penn Jillette. This will be great. Then I get back that Friday. On Saturday, I'll be at the Oregon Marijuana Business Conference. This will be in Ashland, Oregon. So that'll be November 19th, that weekend. Then we got Thanksgiving week and the Thanksgiving weekend. Then we move into December, where the last of November, 1st of December week is Portland Weed Week. 6 days of events in Portland, and I'm emceeing a number of them. Then we follow that with my vacation. Starting on December 5th, I will be in Jamaica. 2 weeks in Jamaica and Florida, so there'll be 2 weeks without the Russ Belville show in December. Actually, 3, because I take Christmas week off as well. And I'm going to do this because, damn it, I need some time off. So 2 weeks in Jamaica and Florida. Then there'll be a week of shows, the week of Christmas. And what those shows will be is kind of like the best of 2016 kind of retrospective shows, best interviews, best news stories, and so on for that week. And then we're into Christmas and the Christmas week that I will be off because I take the Christmas week off, or the week between Christmas and New Year's, I should say. And then we're into 2017, New Year's Day happening. Like I said, 2 weekends I've got between now and New Year's that I don't have some sort of travel gig. Pretty amazing. And the gigs are already starting to line up for January and some of the other events that are out there throughout this growing cannabis movement. I'll keep you posted on all this. Eventually, I'm going to have my Radical Russ website back up. I know it's been down for a long time, but got so much to do. But we'll get that back up, and the calendar will be there and everything else. All right, let's go back to something I dealt with in the first hour, and that is our opponents and their advertising campaigns. They're starting to pour some money in, and we're starting to see some of the advertisements and the framing they're using to try to scare the voters into rejecting marijuana legalization. Let's take a listen now to one of the ads that is running in the state of Arizona on their Prop 205.
Supporters of Prop 205 claim it will raise money for Arizona schools. But check the fine print. Where does the money really go? To pay for new government agencies and a special marijuana police force. Arizona schools get whatever's left over. When marijuana was legalized in Colorado, Denver schools got nothing. Prop 205 means bigger government and more spending. Do you really think the marijuana money will get to Arizona classrooms? Get the facts on Prop 205.
Now, that's a pretty slimy ad for 2 reasons. Number one, this thing about it creating new bureaucracies, new bureaus, new government agencies. Yeah, the ones that regulate marijuana. Of course there's going to be new agencies to regulate marijuana because none exist now. And we're going to raise the taxes that pay for those agencies so it's revenue neutral and actually revenue positive because we're going to make money on this, as we have in all the other states that have legalized. And number two, the other slimy thing in this, this is one they've been using a couple times. In fact, the former mayor of Denver has been using this as well, Wellington Webb. And this is the thing of Denver didn't get any tax money for schools. Denver was left out high and dry. There was no money for Denver. That leaves out the point that A, every place other than Denver got plenty of money, got a lot of money. And B, Denver rejected the money. There was plenty of money for Denver. It was all earmarked, ready to go, considering that Denver's got the bulk of the cannabis commerce there. That's where the taxes are being made, right? But they rejected it when Wellington Webb was the mayor. They didn't want that money. They turned it down. You can't complain you didn't get any money when you turned it down. All right, let's see what they got going on in California. Here's one.
La Proposición 64 permitiría dulces de marihuana a ser objetos de publicidad en la televisión.
¿En serio? ¿Cuál chocolate es real? ¿Cuál tiene marihuana?
Los niños no pueden ver la diferencia.
La Proposición 64 permitiría dulces de marihuana a ser objetos de publicidad en la televisión.
En programas que los niños ven. No podemos permitir que nuestros niños se pongan en riesgo. No
No.
No a la Proposición 64.
Now, for my listeners out there that don't speak Spanish, this is just the gummy bear ad. This is, oh my God, there's going to be chocolate. There's going to be candies. The little niños will get into the chocolates. They'll get into the gummies, and it'll be terrible. And we've debunked this a number of times, that all the scares about, oh my God, there's been double the number of kids in Colorado that have gotten in the gummies. Double the number of kids have gone to the ER. Yeah, double was 47. Yeah, 47 went to the poison control in 2015, compared to 20 some odd that were the year before, 10 the year before that, whatever. See, they want to throw this double at you. Oh my God, it doubled. Without recognizing the raw numbers, we're still talking about 1/1000th the number of kids that overdose on gummy vitamins. So, yeah, mountain out of a molehill, right? Plus, that doubling doesn't even tell us that more kids have gotten sick on pot candies. It just tells us more parents have taken their kids in and been honest about what they got into. I'll bet all sorts of kids were getting into pot candies before. It's not like pot candy is new in Colorado. Not like brownie. It's the first time anybody ever made a pot brownie, right? But back in the day when it was a crime and your kid got sick and you went, oh shit, he ate the brownie, he ate the bag, and you took him to the hospital and the doctor said, what'd your kid get into? You went, it must be food poisoning. E. coli, I guess. Salmonella, maybe? I don't know. You wouldn't tell the truth about it. So what we can say for certain is that the reporting of marijuana ingestion has doubled. Not necessarily that more kids have gotten into it. All right, let's go to Massachusetts. Here's an anti-ad from Massachusetts.
Question 4 would allow thousands of pot shops and marijuana operators throughout Massachusetts, in neighborhoods like yours. Shops that sell pot edibles that look like candy and high-potency marijuana. In pro-pot states, incidents of drugged driving and fatal car accidents are up. More pot shops than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. Higher potency, dangerous drivers. It's the reason health professionals are urging you to vote no on 4.
Now, we already tackled the more dispensaries, more pot shops than Starbucks and McDonald's part, right? That, yeah, that's apples and oranges. How many places can you get coffee and a hamburger, right? So we already tackled that one. I want to, this time, tackle the one where she says, what was it? Pot smoking or pot smoking driving or impaired driving and traffic fatalities are up. Wrong on both counts. First of all, DUI citations in Colorado dropped from 2014 to 2015. Marijuana only, DUI citations dropped from 2014 to 2015. And road fatalities continue to decline in all the states that have legalized. There might be, I think there was a uptick in the rate of fatalities per 100 million miles in Colorado, and it was a statistically tiny uptick in the rate. But the overall fatalities themselves declined. There was just fewer miles driven in Colorado, right? So deaths are down. DUI citations are down. What they're trying to work with is the fact that more people who were found dead in crashes had THC in their system. Now that tells us nothing, except those people smoke pot. It doesn't say they were smoking pot while they're driving. It doesn't say they smoked pot right before they drove. It doesn't say they were impaired while they were driving. It doesn't say that their marijuana use, whether it was from impairment or distraction trying to light the joint, caused the crash. All it tells us is more people who died had pot in their system. Now, that would be as significant as telling me that we found more dead male drivers who were gay married. Well, yeah, because it's legal now. You're more likely to find an increase in married gay dead drivers now that there is such a thing as married gay men. Just like you're likely to find more pot smokers who have been in car crashes now that it's legal to be a pot smoker. And this correlates with their other talking point. They have this talking point about how, oh my God, we legalized pot and more people are using it. The use rates have increased and they're using more of it. Okay, well, if the use rates have increased, they're using more of it, and pot stays in your system from, even with the best testing of active THC in blood, can last 4 to 6 to 8 hours. If we're talking metabolites, we're talking days, even weeks for heavy consumption. So yeah, if you have more opportunity to smoke pot more often, that chance that you're going to be in that window where you have no detectable metabolites or active THC is going to be a smaller chance. We'll wind things up with a couple more of these crazy ads when we return.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Earn your PhD in THC monetization with CannabisRadio.com. Don't be late.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
Tommy Chong is ready to cut through the smoke and change the tone of Tilk Radio.
You're going to be a
great granddad. Pretty cool. Morgan is Ray Dawn's son. Morgan and his wife Tracy, they've been trying to have a baby for quite some time. Did you hear what I said to Morgan? What? Do you know who the father is?
The Tommy Chong Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome to my world.
The Russ Belville Show. We're as much like Cheech and Chong as ordinary Americans are like the Three Stooges. Hey, Mo!
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, firedupLawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
And Blue Blasten Gergen, Pfaffender Blasten Schnurb Norben. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Just closing things up here in our last segment and reminding you that we are here all this week on the Russ Belville Show, exclusively on CannabisRadio.com as we prepare for our Marijuana Election Night 2016. Also, you know about my work in my new blog, weednews.co, because we're too lazy to put the M on the end. No, just joking. Weednews.co, I have just published all 5 of the state marijuana legalization initiatives, and they're all hyperlinked with tables of contents. So you can use this to pass it around to your friends and throughout your shares. And let me give you an example, okay? So I'm going to go to weednews.co right now, and I'm going to pull up the California one. And what's nice about this is because it's got the hyperlink with the table of contents, you can make the hyperlink go straight to the section that debunks whatever the hell it is that someone is saying about the law. Right? So, for example, when they were saying that the medical marijuana, or that the Prop 64 is going to end the medical marijuana, you can leap right to section 11362.45, and you can take that hyperlink and copy it, and you can send it over to your little pal who says this thing is true, and you can just say, go click that and tell me what that says. And it'll jump them right to the section, which is section 11362.45. Nothing in section 11362.1 concerning personal possession and cultivation shall be construed or interpreted to amend, repeal, affect, restrict, or preempt. And then you got to scroll down to paragraph I, laws pertaining to the Compassionate Use Act of 1996. So check those out. I got all 5 of the states, California, Arizona, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Maine, all up on weednews.co, all with those kind of hyperlinks in them, and you can use that to help your debunking efforts. I'm going to have to use it myself because of the Maine Attorney General, who came out with an opinion that said question 1 in Maine would legalize pot for minors because it gets rid of the penalty for everyone and then makes it legal for adults, and then there's no penalty for minors, and oh my God, how are we going to punish them? I still haven't dug into that one. I know it's bullshit. I just need to go find the actual sections that prove it. So we will get to that soon enough. Now, I also wanted to real quick mention the great work being done at marijuana.com by our good friend Tom Angel of Marijuana Majority. Over the past 3 or 4 days, he has been digging into the email hack of John Podesta, which is theft, people. It's theft. It's violation of privacy. And it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. I think, private, personal emails, that's theft. Government servers, government secrets, fine, leak away. I'm all for that because that's public info. That's public knowledge. That's our government, but not people's personal email. Regardless of how I feel about that, Tom's been doing great work digging into this and finding anything that has to do with Secretary Clinton and her opinions on marijuana. The big one that came out was everybody freaking out about this chat session she had with the CEO of Xerox in March of 2014 when she said short in all senses of the word, responding to does she support legalization? And the context meant no, I oppose legalization in every way. And so our side has been freaking out. Oh my God, see, Hillary doesn't support legalization. You should. I've actually got people in my feed telling me we should vote for Donald Trump because at least he supports legalization. Vote Satan 2016. He supports pot. Okay. So that was the big one. That came out on the 10th. There's been some other ones that he's unearthed that are quite interesting. There was a proposal to attack Martin O'Malley, the Maryland governor, that Hillary Clinton would use the fact that he was so late on coming around to decriminalization that she might use that as an attack during the primary debates. Now, the problem why she couldn't use that is she wasn't too good on the decrim issue herself. In 2007, when she ran for president, she said, I do not think we should decriminalize it. Now, since then, she's kind of gone the whole states' rights, medical marijuana is okay, let's wait and see. I really think she's going to be kind of like Obama, just let it happen. And another leak has come out. This was the one he posted on the 14th about marijuana banking and how they were discussing the need to do something about that for the legal states. It's a complex issue. I know people have a lot of different opinions on this election and who should be president, but folks, come on now. There's only one of 2 people who can possibly be president who won't be an absolute disaster. And it ain't the reality TV star. That's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you tomorrow. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.